Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Dreamers Succeed podcast. It's a Solocast today. I wanted to chime in and talk a little bit about how we are keeping track. We're midway through the year, more than midway through the year now. And a lot of us have not really sat down with that mid-year that we always do and see where our goals are, see how we're doing on accomplishing those goals that we set for the year, because 2020 has been the year that it has been. For a lot of people, it's been a total cluster. And for a lot of people, it has been a great, productive way to reset and pause and look at things differently and reinvent and pivot, which is such a word for today. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the importance of maintaining our commitment to the goals that we set at the beginning of this year. I think what was most interesting is that this year also marked a new decade. It was the year of 2020, the year of vision. Everybody came into this year with this optimism and this ready to make a change and do things differently. And for those of you and those people who are subject to everything that is going on and that watch the news and trying to keep track of every little thing that is going on in the world, especially since it's affecting everyone in the world, I think that it got heavy for a lot of people. Things just got, I'm just going to stop right now and I'm going to attend to the matters at hand right now. And what happened was that we haven't kickstarted because we're waiting for, our elected officials to say, okay, now we can open this and now we can open that. And the truth is that nobody is going to tell you when you can open getting back on track and doing things that you need to do, particularly for those of you who are in business for yourself. So I want to share a little story of when my mom was in the hospital, and she passed last year, unfortunately, but I learned a great lesson during those 5 months that she was in and out of hospitals. Her last hospital stay, she was in the ICU ward, and there were beautiful nurses and doctors and just every specialist that you can imagine were tending to the people in the ICU ward. So every morning around 10 or 11 in the morning, the entire group would come together and they would do their rounds. So they would have the main ICU doctor standing with a computer on a cart, and everyone around him were the nurses, the pharmacist, the cardiologist, the pulmonologist, any doctor that was involved in the care of the patient was standing around, and they would go through the entire chart. What is different? What changed? What are the results from yesterday's test, if there were any? And they would all meet and have a discussion around what was going on with that patient. And they did that every single morning. A lot of the things were repetitive because there weren't changes. There were improvements. Maybe there was a little bit of a decline, but everybody was abreast of what was happening with that patient. And they found out in those rounds. The lovely thing was that they invited us to stand there and listen to what was going on. We couldn't interrupt with questions, but we would know to ask better questions after they did their rounds. And one of the things that I love doing with my clients, and I do it myself, and I've been doing it for a number of years, is to really keep accurate metrics. You guys know, those who know me know that I am a numbers person, and I have my metrics. And guys, I always say it, the numbers never lie. I know that in order to hit my goal for the year, I reverse engineer. Okay, if I want to make this much, I know how much I need to make every month, every quarter, every month, every week, and every day. I mean, down to the day. So my metrics, which is an Excel sheet that I keep with all those numbers that I have to hit. I know how much I have to be writing. I know how many calls I need to be making. I know how many emails I need to be sending to speaking engagement decision makers. I know how many mutual introductions. I know how many hours I need to volunteer. I know how many miles I need to be putting on my Fitbit. I know how many, everything is broken down into very, very manageable bite-sized pieces so that I can keep track. And I know that if I'm hitting those numbers like I'm supposed to every week, every month, every quarter, the end goal for the end of the year, whatever my big goal was for the end of the year, has to happen if those numbers are being kept track of. So one of the things that I started doing, because when I started doing this back in 2017, I sat down Thanksgiving weekend and I took my list of goals, and I pray that you are all making a list of goals every year. But I sat down with my list of goals and I decided to create a hits and misses list. And that hits and misses list told me what I went goal by goal, and I looked at my calendar, and I keep very accurate calendars, and I kept track of everything that I was doing at the time that contributed to either my hitting my goal or my missing my goal for that year. Now, the problem is that by the time November comes, there's really not a lot of time to recover. There's not a lot of time for me to do anything so different that it's going to make a drastic difference before that clock strikes midnight on December 31st. So based on that, and it was a really great hits and misses list, based on that, I began to do it every month. So every month I sit down with my metrics, with my list of goals for that month, and I make a hits and misses list. So I want to really, really recommend this to you all. If you keep track every month of what your goals are, make sure that you're writing down those goals. Again, whatever your overall goals are for the year, break them down by quarter, by month, by week, and by day. And then every month, just do a recap. Do a recap of what contributed to you hitting those goals so that you could do more of that, or what stood in the way and caused you to miss those goals, so that you can rearrange whatever was happening, tweak it, adjust it, do whatever you need to do so that that doesn't happen again. And what will happen is that by the end of the year, when I do this every Thanksgiving weekend, those 4 days are really great catch-up days for me. And by the time that I sit down in November, I can almost see a pattern. And when I did this the first time, I saw a pattern. And maybe January, February, March, there were a lot of misses, but I made adjustments. I made adjustments to my metrics. I made adjustments to my activities, the tasks, the things that I was doing, how I was managing my time, and how I was managing my calendar. And I started to make those adjustments. And sure enough, by the time, you get into that nearing that last quarter, September, October, things are more or less, the misses are far fewer than the hits. And that's how you really set yourself up to having a great end of the year based on your goals. Because I realize that it's important for us to keep track and be making those adjustments as we go along. We don't want to wait until there's no time to recover. So I did want to offer that to all of you. Number one, please make a list of your goals for the year. These should be completely in line with whatever your big dreams are, with whatever your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals are. Every year you need to have a list of goals that you need to accomplish in order to get you closer to that big vision that you have. Okay, that's number one. If you don't have it now, I know we're sort of at the tail end of July now. It's a perfect time to start. We still have a good 4 or 5 months till the end of the year. And now is as good a time as any to start. Okay. Number two, stop watching the news. Please. I can't stress that enough. I heard during the downturn in 2008, Susie Orman, how she would have those panels and those discussions, and she had her own show and people would ask questions. And someone in the audience asked a question and said, but I'm so worried about the economy in this country. And I'll never forget what she said. She said, listen, don't worry about the economy in the country. You worry about your own economy. So what that tells me, especially with everything that's going on today, is that it's very easy for us to get very, very sucked in to the negativity that we're hearing on the news all the time. Believe me, guys, and I know you hear me say this all the time, and I say it because it's true. There is a lot more good going on in the world than there is negative. It just doesn't sell. And what happens is that when we are constantly allowing ourselves to be bombarded with that negativity, it seeps into our lives as well. And we need to be worrying. Yes, we need to make a stand, and we need to, talk about and have conversations around the important topics that are going on out there. I believe that wholeheartedly. I just don't want you to get sucked in. I want you to remember that yes, there are things going on out there and they're selling it a lot worse than it is, but you need to be worrying about what you take care of your house. And the best way to take care of, have a clean world, as Mother Teresa said, is to make sure you're sweeping your own front porch. Okay? So that's one thing I can tell you. Make sure that you're focusing on what is happening in your world, in your home, in your economy, in your business. Okay? Because the best way to effectuate change is to put yourself in a position to be able to do that. Number 3, I want you to keep track of those hits and misses list. I want you to make sure that you have really good metrics that you're measuring yourself. Get an accountability partner. Make sure that you have someone who is keeping an eye on you and holding you accountable. I'm really good at holding myself accountable, but a lot of times we need to have that extra set of eyes to be looking at things and giving us a different perspective. If you are not already in a mastermind, get in a good mastermind group. Okay, that's gonna change your world, not only professionally but also personally. To have like-minded people around you that are going to be able to chime in and challenge you and support you and applaud when things are going well. But we need to have that accountability, and if we don't have it for ourselves, we need to invite those people who will bring that in. So that's the other thing. Again, keeping really, really good metrics. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about with the metrics, I want you to reach out to me. I have a form. It's very easy for us to, and I have a questionnaire that will break down exactly what you need to be keeping track of, depending on your goals. If your goal, how many coaching proposals are you getting out there? How many speaking engagement proposals are you getting out there? If you want to write that book, how much are you blogging? How much are you writing every day? If you want to really bolster your finances, what are your income goals? And what are you doing to reach them? Those things that we need to be keeping track. And if you have a number of, listen, I need to write 15,000 words a month, if you reverse engineer that, how much you need to be writing a day. That's a little, I know some of you can do that, but I'm just saying it depends on what the overarching goal is, and you need to know what the goal is in order to know how to make those metrics that you can track. So that's my other thing. Again, reach out to me if you're not sure what any of this means. My people know what this means because I'm on them all the time about the metrics. But if you don't understand, I would love to have a conversation with you around that, because that is important. And those numbers never lie. And that's how you check the progress. And finally, I want to make sure that you are making the rounds. You are making the rounds and checking in, keeping track. If you can't do it daily, at least do it weekly. But that should be part of your morning routine. It should be part of your evening routine. When you're in that space of gratitude, that's when you're checking. And this goes for your personal life, your health, your wealth, your mindset. It goes for your relationships. It goes for your business. It applies to everything. And we need to have goals in all those different areas of our lives. Again, and if you don't, I'm not knocking you for it, but it's really, really hard to make progress if you don't know what you're shooting for. Those of you who are target people, you know what I'm talking about. I love to go range shooting. I would never go without a target, because what is the point? So those are 4 or 5 little things that you can be doing to start moving that needle forward, to start really resetting. I know a lot of people, and I've had a lot of conversations where they say, 2020 has been a waste. I just want to reset it and we got to redo, next year. Don't do that, people. I know what you mean, and I know and I understand. But listen, this has been a very, very productive year for me. It's been a very, very productive year for a lot of people that I know who have just, hunkered down, made really good use of the time. They're not driving as much as they used to. They're not, maybe vacationing as much as they used to. I know I haven't stopped, but most people are not doing that. And what are you doing with that time? What are you doing with that extra time that we've been giving? Did you make good use of it? Are you making good use of it still? Because we don't know when, every time it seems like we're getting to the tail end of this, they revert back and start, messing with the numbers so it doesn't look as good as it probably should. So again, pay attention to what's happening with you, with your business. Turn off the news, keep track of the metrics, set your goals, and please, please, please make sure you are making those rounds. Okay, folks, so remember to do good, be great, and go outside and play.